Hey, so here we are. Are you with us? Are you there? This is like new technology for me. You know, you can teach an old dog new tricks. That's that's the rule here. So, welcome to our very first Transformation Talk live, Facebook Live here. Tim Doyle from the upper room here at Restoration Church in the heart of beautiful, historic downtown St. Joe. See, you're going to get really tired of me saying that because that's what I believe. So I've got to repeat it so that you believe it too. But we love what God is doing in our city. We love just the fact that we have a destiny here, that God has chosen to in this day to say, listen, I'm not done yet. I've got more I want to do. And we've been pressing in now for at least 4 years here in the downtown of our city. And honestly, during that time, watching some pretty awesome things happen. I'm not saying it's all because of us, but I'll say it's all because of him, and that I see his favor coming to St. Joseph, Missouri. And there are things that were in the heart of God that we see little indicators of, even back starting in 1843, right, when the city was founded, and that we are excited to pray into and say, just as Jesus taught us, right, Father, let your kingdom come, your will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. So hopefully you're watching and seeing this. Why don't you give me some messages here? I see I got a couple of thumbs up. Krista Doyle. I mean, that's one of my stalkers. My Facebook stalker is Krista Doyle. I don't know. But we're really glad to have you. And I'm going to introduce to you a gentleman that will be coming this weekend. That's why we're doing this today, to give you sort of an introduction and to let you meet a man that although we've not really had much opportunity to be together, I feel like I know him from mutual friends. I've heard the name Byron Easterling, and if you're especially from the Kansas City area, I'm sure you've heard of Byron as well. Byron is a man that God has used greatly around the world, and we're going to learn more about that. But what I love about him, looking at his bio, I love his I am statements. You're going to have to go check out his webpage and see what that's about. But I want you to welcome Byron with me this morning on Transformation Talk. Good morning, Byron.
Hi, too.
Are you awake? It's it's like 8:30 your time, right? So I wanted to make sure you got your coffee on board and that you're alert and you're coherent this morning.
Coffee at bay.
Hey, well, listen, thank you so much for the time today. And I know you're fixing to pack your bags and head east to join us this weekend, but I thought this would be a great opportunity for us to just get to know each other and include several hundred other people in the conversation.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about your story. Tell me the journey that you've been on, because as I look at your bio, Byron, man, you've been producing music for the Olympics. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. So you got some music in there. You've got some writing in there. You have a heart for sex-trafficked women, I guess, and men too, around the globe.
Yeah.
Tell me what God's done with you. It's just like I can't get my mind around this. You've been on quite a trip, it sounds like.
Yeah, excuse me. We were, my wife and I, Crystal, excuse me, we were, we were good campus crusaders and on staff traveling with their music ministry, and ended up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and got invited we were looking for a church, got invited to this place called the Vineyard in 1980 something. It was a little bitty church, and you know what? We walked in, and we had moved from Atlanta. Crusade is an amazing organization, and we were seeing hundreds, if not thousands, of people come to Christ every year, which I absolutely love. For me, that's a big part of the kingdom, is to see people coming into a relationship with Jesus. I know it's about the church. I know the church, it's about us worshiping him. And I know those things are all a part of it. But I just have this thing that God is never satisfied with the size of his family. And
I love that.
And that's a huge part of what we're about on the earth.
Yeah.
Is to see people come into a relational dynamic with Jesus Christ.
That's awesome.
And that's what happened. But we started reading the Bible in a different way and saw that there was a different way to even approach evangelism and to approach a relational aspect to seeing people. And that started us on a journey in many ways. So music, yes, music has been a big part. I traveled for 22 years, and like you mentioned, I did track and field for the Olympics.
Wow.
CBS. Let's see, what else? I found out, I didn't even know I sold a piece for the Miami Heat.
Wow. That's so cool. What's that feel like to hear your music, your effort being played on national television? That's got to be a buzz.
It is. Actually, I'm trying to find out right now, because I sold a lot of canned music. Otherwise, we created for a production company. Right. And every time I go into the theater, right, and I can't remember which one it is, but there's a piece of music that starts the surround sound.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And I'm almost positive.
Do you stand up in the theater and say, that's my music?
Come on.
And people throw popcorn and say, sit down. I love it.
I just tell my wife, and she goes, yeah.
That is so good. Well, so now transition me now into, you went to this church called the Vineyard, which I know about. In fact, my licensing as a pastor is in the Vineyard Church. Cool. So so we have a little connection. And I think our mutual friend, John Brown, Harmony Vineyard in Kansas City, who you know well. We also have a couple of other mutual friends that our restoration people will know. James Harris, who's an awesome man of God. Yep. And we love James. And he's spoken into this house numerous times, and also has been on Krista and my ministry board since we started Joseph Resource Group back in 2000. Oh, wow. So, yes, super wise and godly counsel. He's one of those guys you can be real with, Yeah. And no, he's not going to accuse you of being unspiritual, Yeah. And then we also got to mention Sarah McInnes, who's just a sweetheart. And we actually have heard of Sarah through James, but didn't meet her until last year on Mother's Day. And I tell you, I don't know, Byron, if Sarah told you what she did here at Restoration, that she brought her mother here. And those who know the story of Sarah coming out of a lesbian lifestyle, and the brokenness sometimes that brings with family relationships. Yeah. And she brought her mother here. Boy, wow. I'll cry talking about it. Yeah. She sat her mom in a chair on the platform and in real time reconciled with her mother on Mother's Day. Whoa. It was nuclear. I'm just telling you. So we're so proud of her, and she's kind of responsible for you coming, because she messaged me and said, "Hey, I think Byron's carrying something for St. Joseph," and so you and I connected by telephone, and voila, here we are.
Here we are.
I'm excited, but I know the Lord uses you like in prophetic ways. But what really kind of tripped my trigger was when we had our previous discussion, and you talked about these resource hubs that you see being raised up around the world. And tell me about that. That really piqued my interest, because I sense that's what's happening here in St. Joseph.
Yeah. I feel like Crystal and I have had the opportunity to have several something's happening. Sorry.
It's all right.
Are you okay there?
Yep, I'm good.
Good. Okay. Several opportunities to be involved in what I would consider the beginnings, or the even back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and resource centers have been around for quite a while, but I think that they're just starting to come into their own in this moment. And I think it's what I call Ephesian 4 gatherings or churches. It's we're the church, and the church gathers. I always say, if the church is entering the building, and we need language change for that.
Oh, that's good. I love that.
We don't look at brick and mortar as the church, and it's so hard. That's the gathering place. We would gather outside if if it was beautiful weather, it's the same thing. It's the church. And so the church, the church is entering the building when we gather. And resource centers for me are just, they're Ephesians 4. They're those giftings that help provide a way to equip the body in order to do all the works that God has for them. And that's what that scripture says. It's so that basically every person has the opportunity to fulfill all that God has for them. And I love that. I love that it's a servant leadership role.
Yeah.
But it allows that leader to also they have to fulfill what's on their heart as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's both by example. It's both by example and by serving and by equipping. That equipping is such a huge thing. And sometimes I think even with those 5 gifts, I'm kind of going off the path here a bit, but even with those 5 gifts, for me, a huge part of that is not just them equipping everybody, but it's connecting the right people in to facilitate that equipping. Otherwise, it's spreading out that wealth.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's that picture that Paul painted about the body, and we're all different members, but when every joint supplies what it's supposed to bring, the body benefits.
Yeah. So resource centers, I think they've been tried in a variety of ways over the last 30 years, probably before that, but I'll just say the last 30 years for us. And it's just a timely season in God right now, that there's a number of leaders that I believe are stepping into a place, if I can say it this way. So for so long, many of our leaders have been type A, very driven, very dominant leaders.
Yeah. And God seems to use that personality type to start things too.
Absolutely.
I've worked for a couple of those. And I've got the scars to prove it. No, I'm teasing.
And there's such but there seems with resource centers that many of the leaders that I'm finding are not those type A individuals, but they're real facilitator type people.
Right.
That just their mindset, it's like God has downloaded into their spirit, into their whole being. It's a part of their DNA, both spiritually and even in the natural. Their DNA is just that I want to help people win.
Yeah, that's cool.
Help people win.
Yeah.
That's Ephesians 4 to me.
That's right. That is right. The way language I use, Byron, is I want to see whatever God's dream is for your life. I want to see that dream come to life, to fruition. And what can I do? How can I not throw water on you, but throw gas on you and let that flame just burn even brighter? Yeah.
Yeah. And it all started for me. Crystal and I are at dinner. I'll tell this very short story. Crystal and I are at dinner with some friends, and the husband said, "Hey, Byron, how come you travel all over the world and you get to speak into people's lives and really help motivate them into their dream and the desires of their heart, and yet you're not doing what you really love?" Wow. One of the things you really love doing. And I was like, I'm doing what I'm doing what I love. And he kind of brought up what that was, and I kind of had to stop in my tracks. And the wife says, she's sorry, it's just a good memory. Yeah. Don't you think that's a little hypocritical? Oh. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I had to go and walked out to my truck that night, Crystal and I getting in, and I reached out for that handle. And I just, in a flash, just basically said, Lord, what is it that's keeping me from really going after my heart's desire? And by the time I sat in that seat, it was so simple: fear. You're just afraid to go after that. And, I feel like what happened at that moment, I turned to Crystal and I said, what am I going to do about this?
Yeah, that's right.
And, because, you know, it's always good to walk that path together.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So he said, Byron, you have to go after this. You have to go after it.
Wow.
And that was in 2000 and late 2006. That began us on a journey to really understand the heart of God. And I think what resource centers are doing, it's allowing for people to step further into their identity, their God-given identity, and to walk that out on the earth. And it's in joy, in passion.
That's right.
Yeah. And so it's like, I actually had a dream early on in my life and been offered to go on the golf circuit professionally. And now I'm in my 50s and I'm being challenged to do this. And I had to go try it. I had to go after it. And I'd be walking down a fairway and in some tournament, and I would just sense God's presence with me. And almost in a conversation, I would say, "Are you enjoying this? Are you enjoying that?" I mean,
yeah.
I'm not over here doing ministry right now. I'm over here on a fairway going after a heart's desire.
Yeah.
He said, "Man, I love this.
Yeah.
So fun."
That's awesome.
And it's just, and to me, that's what resource centers are about.
That's good.
Up that knowledge that God grants us, Psalms 37:4, he grants us the desire of our hearts when we pursue and we delight in him.
Yeah. Someone said to me, Byron, years ago, that it's like, what is it that makes you weep and pound the table? What are those things that just make you come alive? And, as a pastor, there's no, my people will tell you, they can always tell when I hit a tender spot because my heart begins to come out my nose, right? Gotta grab the Kleenex, right? And I become a bucket right there on the platform in front of everybody. But there's nothing like giving yourself to the thing that you have passion for. Yeah. What a privilege.
Yeah.
And to help people discover that place in their life that they were created for. What an honor to walk beside. And one thing I'm excited about, Byron, I mean, we're not just talking about people our age. We're talking about young people.
Oh, absolutely.
To early on say you were created for a purpose. You have a destiny. Let's help you find out what that is and be the wind behind you, and not just cheer you on, but lock arms and say, let's do this together.
Yeah.
I'm with you. That's a spiritual father. That's what we're describing.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's what fathers do. I'm, as a male, I think in the church, and that's, I think, what this generation is lacking. It's people who believe in them and say, you have a person, a destiny, and I believe in you too.
Yeah, that's good. That's right.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So these resource centers you're describing, Byron, are places where we can come around and champion those types of dreams and desires.
And I think in each other. For me, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
A win situation. Yeah. I think it needs to be discovered that it is both and. It is a paradox that God himself is a paradox. It's a perfect win-win situation. And it's not a paradigm that says I'm only going to cause you to win. No, I want to win as well. And I think without that, it becomes it can become subservient. And I don't think that's the heart of God in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's really a different definition of church, what we're describing here.
Yes.
Like really what I've never seen before. I'm not saying it's not being done other places, but I've never seen it personally. But I think it's definitely something that's being birthed in our heart. And that's why I'm excited about you coming this weekend. By the way, while we're talking about that, Byron is with us this Sunday. We have two celebrations on Sunday morning at 9 and 10:45 a.m. So, if you have a home church, I'm not trying to pull you away at all. But if you would like to just come and listen in firsthand, we'd love to have you. We're here in downtown St. Joe at the corner of 2nd and Francis. And I just believe that the Lord is creating what we're describing, a resource center. So especially if you're not connected to a local church and you want to find out more. Also, we can take your questions for Byron here today live. So if you're joining us, thanks for being a part of our Facebook Live Transformation Talk today with Byron Easterling. And Byron, you know, when you come to St. Joe this weekend, one of the things I'm excited about is you talking more about this model of ministry that we've not seen before. You have seen this around the nation and different parts of the world. Whet my appetite. Tell me about some of the things that you've seen or been a part of. I'm anxious to hear the stories.
Yeah, you know, there as all things, there are good and there are challenges. Right, you know, when somebody says, you know, we win and then we just learn. And I've had both winnings and learnings. And I think that's a part of the process, right? I mean,
yes.
But what I love is this. It's because there's been forerunners, then there's been front runners in being able to set some patterns and set some pathways for us to step further into really, because what this is doing, it's to transform cities and states and nations.
That's right.
The transformation of people's lives, not only just personally within the church, but without.
Right.
One of the things I think that scares leaders and pastors the most, and we've actually had a little chat about this, is there's a church in Goodyear, Arizona called the Arizona Vineyard, AZ Vineyard.
Okay.
And I don't only go to vineyards, but I do.
Understood.
Pastor there, John Farmer, is I came in and did a thing several years ago on the book Dream Big, Dream Often that I wrote, and Graham Cook asked me to write that book, and it's under his website, under his stuff and publishing company. But
cool.
I came in and spoke over the weekend on that, did a seminar on it, and people started actually responding. And John, the pastor, began to release them. And then now, several years later, people are going out into the community. Well, a lot of people are working daytime.
Yeah.
So they're fulfilling some of their lifelong desires and goals.
Right.
To build businesses and to build other things that are reaching out into the community.
That's awesome.
And touching lives. Food trucks and you've got everything from a food truck that's wanting to become a full business, several of those, to artists, to just somebody who said, you know what, I've always wanted just to be a runner. I want to run. And,
wow.
That's
never been me, by the way.
No.
Yeah. I've never been guilty of that. Unless it's when the dinner bell rings, then I run. But that's awesome. People are being released in what they feel that they were created for. It reminds you of was it Eric Little in Chariots of Fire who said, when I run, I feel his pleasure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was at a speaking at an event, and this book can frustrate people at times. Dream Big, Dream Often, because it challenges you. And this lady came up and said, "I don't have a dream. I don't like you."
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Very much. Hug. No. Yeah. And I said, so have you never had a dream? And she says, I don't have any dreams. I don't like talking about this because I've never had a dream. And I said, wow. Well, let's go back then. Let me just ask you this question. Have you ever is there anything you'd like to do right now? Just anything. And she has 4 children. And she says, I would love to go to a bookstore and a cup of coffee all by myself.
Yeah, exactly.
And just read quietly all day.
That's a good dream for a mother of 4.
This was her. She said, that's not a dream. I said, well, it sounds like one to me.
Yeah.
Standing over there, which I just met this couple. I said, hey, come over here, man. I said, would you do me a favor? Would you take a day off of work so that your wife can do this? And he goes, absolutely, I would. So they set it up. And I said, when you finish, I would like you to email me what happened. And I get an email a couple, maybe, I don't know, a month or two later, I don't know how long. She said, within 20 minutes, she said, I had forgotten, as I just sat and set myself quietly, and not that you can't do this anywhere, but it was that she actually went after something. She stepped into something that she wanted to do, a desire of her heart. And what we do so much is we put this conviction thing, this condemnation thing, not conviction, a condemnation of, oh, I have to do this for God. Yes. And God's never asked you that. He's saying, hey, right now, I just want you to go to the bookstore. Mm-hmm. From that, she remembered a dream that she had that one day she had been an artist and just had stopped. And she said, I've always wanted for the neighborhood, just for the neighborhood, to do a half-hour class for any of the kids in the neighborhood that would like to have art class. So she just opened that up for her neighborhood. Yeah. What happens? All the moms start showing up.
Oh, yeah.
They're sitting around the coffee table having a cup of coffee while the kids have a half-hour class. The kids go play, and now the moms are having these great conversations, getting to know each other. Where are they? They're out in the community.
Yeah, that's good.
It's, I'm like, if you do that 1,000 times, mm-hmm. you've affected 10, 20,000 people.
Yeah.
So anyway.
That's so good, Byron. Yeah. That's so good. And your book, the title of your book, Dream Big, Dream Often.
Yes.
It sounds to me like these resource centers you're describing are little like dream hotbeds, the fertile soil. Well, people feel the freedom. And I think what you said a while ago about the pastor sometimes feeling a little maybe competitive or suspicious or uneasy because you're kind of afraid to let it get out beyond you. But in reality, that's what we're called to do. We're called to equip the saints for the work of ministry. Yeah. And it really is fulfilling our call, I believe, as a pastor, to see people released in those dreams. And it might not be that they stay here to do that. Right. God might send them elsewhere, but that's what we're called to do. That's interesting about our city's history, Byron, as you know, is that we were a resource hub for people going west in the westward expansion. And St. Joseph, all these wonderful old buildings down here were built by the monopolies, I guess. I mean, this was the only Walmart before you hit the dusty trail, right? So it's like there's a lot of money poured into this city because its destiny was to be a resourcer, an equipper, and then a releaser. Because they didn't stay here. They went on to follow their dream, their adventure. So I really relate to what you're saying.
And that's resource centers draw in from all over the world. And you can expect that, I believe, in restoration, that people will come both locally, regionally, and beyond. And they'll both stay and go. And some just need to be in the house. They just need to be in the house serving, equipping. That's a part of it. Some will be called just to equip, but some will be called to go and do what they're doing right there in beautiful downtown.
Yeah. Historic. You forgot historic.
Sorry.
Well, Byron, I've had you here for 30 minutes, and I don't want to keep you all day long, but I wanted people just to get a sample of your spirit. I think you've done a good job of that today. We had someone watching, and of course you'll recognize the name, Zach Doyle. I don't know if he's related to me at all, but I call him my spawn. So, so Zach has put up the Restoration Church website. So people, if they want to, what you do this Sunday will be available. We'll live stream, but also a podcast version after Sunday. So if someone attends a different church and we're we bless you to do that, because it takes all the boats to haul in the catch, but we're really grateful to have you coming this weekend, and we'll have some sessions for you to speak into our leaders' lives, and then as well, of course, to the church on Sunday morning. But before I let you go, any final comments you just want to encourage the saints with as we get ready to host you this weekend? I mean, we're praying into what God wants to do, what He wants to deposit through you this weekend. Anything you want to just encourage the saints with before you go?
I just want to say thanks. I'm looking forward to being there. Pray for that 60-degree weather.
Amen. We receive it. In Jesus' name. And no snow. Why does it always snow on Saturday nights? Why? Why does it do that? It's the devil, I tell you.
I'm just looking forward to being with y'all and getting to meet you. Relationship is a huge thing for us. And that's such a key. So
it's going to be a lot of fun. I can tell already. Well, bless you, Byron. Thank you so much. Our best to your bride, and safe travels, and we'll see you soon, okay?
Will do. Have a good one.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining us today on the podcast, I guess video podcast today. This is a kind of an experiment we're trying with connecting you with people that are making a difference, transforming not only churches, but cities and regions and the nation and nations with what happens at the local church level. I believe this. When I got out of broadcasting, the Lord really challenged me to see that not as a demotion, but as a promotion, okay? Because to be honest with you, that's kind of was the temptation. I believe, though, that the church is the front line in the battle to impact the culture. And so we're all about helping the church grow stronger, to thrive. And so that's our heart. We appreciate you. Thanks for your encouragement, your prayers, and your support wherever you're at today. God wants to use you to transform your city, to make a difference. So let us know how we can encourage you. God bless you. Have an awesome rest of your day. You can share this on the archive. We'll be downloading this and making it available for folks to watch offline later on. And let us know how we can encourage you in that. All right. God bless you. Have a great day. And let's see God do some transformation in our lives. All right. Talk to you soon.